I'm really looking forward to see someone with 1,400 championship point in the ranking. And now we jump straight into the game. Simone Zucchelli is able to start after 4 mulligans from Simone Soldo, who's using his Greninja deck, which only plays 6 basic Pokemon. So mulligans happen quite often. This is one of the downsides of playing the deck. You don't really need a lot of basic Pokemon. You have your Frokis and you have your Dragis. You don't play Shaymin EX because it's a non-EX focused deck. Your advantage is gained by not having Pokemon EX, by letting your opponent draw prize cards very, very slow. So it happens quite often that your opponent draws 2 or 3 extra cards at the beginning of the turn. Simone Zucchelli got 4 of them, and he's jumping off the game Ultra Ball for Bronzong, which is the basic Pokemon from Bronzong. Bronzong with Metal Links allows you to attach energy cards from the discard pile onto your benched Pokemon. So you're using this and either AG/EX or Genesect EX and then deal a lot of damage. However, for Greninja deck, you can use Shadow Stitching to prevent this, or he can just use Giant Water Shrieking and knock them out. Simone plays the Greninja from X and Y, which deals 30 damage when you discard an energy from your hand. Together with Greninja Break, that's 90 damage. That's enough to knock out the Bronzong from Phantom Forces with the Metal Links ability. So it will be a very interesting game to see.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit of back and forth. I also think the Metal Fortress Bronzong is definitely going to be a factor in this matchup. The Metal Fortress is a very interesting interaction with the Shadow Stitching attack. If the Metal Fortress Bronzong is on the bench, and all the bench Pokemon that are currently also on the bench will be shielded by the Metal Fortress, so if there are already other Metal Links Bronzongs in play on the bench, they will be protected, so they will allow extra attachments. But if there's anything that isn't on the bench at the time, when Metal Fortress is there, something like a Shaymin EX that goes onto the bench, and the following turn it would not be protected. So we have to be very careful about these rulings, and both players have to be on their toes here.
Exactly, but it will be quite interesting to see if Simone decides to evolve into this Metal Fortress Bronzong. It's more of a take against Trevenant because it completely blocks the whole damage Silent Fear does to your benched Pokemon. And also the attack says you get less damage next turn. Together with the resistance, there is almost no way for Trevenant. When you attack with the Metal Fortress Bronzong, then in the next turn you either get 20 damage from Tree Stem or 30 damage from Silent Fear, which is not really what you want. Combine this with the Bronzong Break, which has, I think, 140 HP, and then you will just win the Trevenant matchup with this one Pokemon while charging up Genesect EX on your bench. And then at the end of the game, you can just use Genesect, play License Shame, and win the game this way.
Yep, that is all very true. And so we see it pass over to Simone Soldo now, and he's going to start off with the Trainer's Mail. Typically, just looking for maybe some backup Froakie, and he may just need to have energy, but not necessarily play it this turn. We see very typical opening turns from Greninja. No matter what they're playing against, you need to develop these certain things to get those water duplicates guaranteed for the following turns. So we are going to see him search out a Froakie here just for a backup on the bench. All very typical so far. Could be interesting to see if he actually wants to attach, maybe attempt going for a bubble. We know bubbling can stall for certain turns, and because it's the second turn of the game, he does have that option available.
Exactly. I really like about Simone's list that he plays 2 AZ. So even if Simone Solo is bubbling here, flipping heads, then Simone Zucchelli can just play AZ, put the Shaymin back to his hand. Putting the Shaymin back to his hand is a good turn anyways, because then you can use setup again and retreat without spending an energy. Especially when you're paralyzed, that is even better. So an early end from Simone Soldo, attach the energy to the active Froakie. There is still a chance that Simone doesn't draw the AZ if Simone Soldo flips heads. Quite unlikely, however, you just want to have the energy in play. If you shuffle it back into the hand, Simone Zucchelli doesn't have the greatest chance of knocking out that Froakie in the next turn anyways. However, he plays Max Elixir, which we just saw on his hand as well, followed by AZ and an energy card.
As well.
So he got the exact same hand I was speaking of, which is energy, AZ, and Max Elixir. As long as the Max Elixir hits an energy card, he can get an early knockout
This could be one real big swing in this game, because normally, again, you associate Bronzong with being a little bit slower, a bit more methodical, but the Max Elixir does change it. It changes the emphasis of the deck, and he's got the Max Elixir straight away, so he's going to be putting pressure on this turn and also getting the AZ for the Shaman. It all works out perfectly because he can continue to draw plenty more cards as if it was never a problem in the first place.
Max Elixir is one of these genius cards that you can include in this deck. No one really thinks about it. It's more like Joe said, you have this kind of slow deck, and then you set up your Bronzongs, and when the Bronzongs are in play, then you can use Metal Links and then charge your Genesects. However, Simone knows, well, we are in a very fast format that used to be able with Electric, but now everyone has X-Manic, everyone has Shaman EX. Not all the decks are too fast to keep up with just evolving, so he plays the Max Elixirs as well. He plays Scarfield, he plays Shaman. He's just trying to explode in his first turn, set up all of it. He set up energy with Max Elixir, but he also evolves his Bronzong, so he has a conservative deck and a rushing deck at the same time. And if you're a good player, know how to deal with it, then you create this deck which is able to maybe win the national championship, but at least is able to get the place in the top 4, and we can see why he managed to do this.
Absolutely, fantastic play and also fantastic deck building. Like you say, it's this sort of outside of the box thinking where you wouldn't associate the Max Elixir because you'd think, oh, I just want the energy in the discard pile for Bronzong, but in the early turns it's still great to get these Max Elixirs going as soon as possible. And by having plenty of basic energy overall, he's got enough in the deck, even if he does discard 1 or 2 for battle compressors. As we see the Water Duplicates attack just filling up the bench of Frogadier, as is typical. But again, Simone Zucchelli, he's already got the knockout on the board. He doesn't have to do anything else, but he can continue to develop, get more Bronzong into play, get more Genesect with energy attached before Shadow Stitching even becomes a factor in this matchup.
Yeah, that's completely true. And now it's Simone's turn again. He can draw 2 very easy prize cards just because of this 1 Max Elixir. And he's just pumping up Genesect EX. You might think, okay, this is a deck where I use Genesect EX, and because of the ability, I can put my Fury Belt into the hand again, attach a Floatstone, use Metal Links, retreat into the next Genesect. This is what you expect the deck to be, expect the deck to look like. However, Simone knows, no, I charge 1 Genesect, and then I keep pumping more energy cards to it, and I can then retreat my Genesect and then just put even more energies to it and then use one of my 2 AZs, put it back to my hand. We saw Simone really using that AZ in every situation, sometimes to even get the 3rd Metal Links off by retreating into Bronzong. Everyone is like, what? Why is the Bronzong active? He already retreated. Then AZ, promote the Genesect, then evolve the other Bronzong, and then he can use Metal Links again because it's considered another Bronzong. And here also we see the Metal Fortress Bronzong hitting the field, and this might become a very weird way of ruling things, depending on how often Simone feels like attacking with his Shadow Stitching.
Yes, absolutely. So sort of the Metal Fortress is a bit of a deterrent, forcing sometimes Simone Solda, as long as he knows the ruling as well as we do. Sometimes it has been seen as a grey area. We're referencing the Suicune, of course, to try and get the president correct for this sort of matchup, and the players have to be aware of this. So we are going to see the N from Simone, and getting a fresh 6 and putting Simone Zucchelli down to 4, trying to punish that sort of aggression while he also tries to set up these Greninjas and start fighting back at this point.
Yeah, when you play a lot of tournaments, you always have to keep track of these rulings. There is no official ruling yet for Bronzong versus the Shadow Stitching. However, there is the official ruling, like Joe said, on the Suicune, which has the exact same ability, but as long as the Suicune stays active. So you take this, we take this ruling and then just replace every phrase that is active with on the bench, and then it kind of is very similar than the Suicune ruling. So you can reference this. It's, like we already said, it's not an official ruling yet. It might change, so you shouldn't take this for a complete reference. However, keep checking like the official rulings if this is changed when you want to play either Greninja or the Metal deck.
Absolutely. So he is considering also going into the Bronzong break. He decides to put it on the Metal Fortress Bronzong, which already has 100 HP. So it's an interesting choice that he wants to protect this one rather than, like you were saying, stay out of range of these shurikens and such, because the Metal Fortress Bronzong only protects from attacks. So the giant water shurikens are still definitely an option for Simone Soldo, so trying to maybe protect the Metal Lynx Bronzong was something I was considering, but instead he wants to keep the Fortress around for good.
Exactly, and also the Trevenant Break, we talked about that quite a few times with each other, and the Metal Rain is not the main reason you play it. You play it to give your Bronzors more HP. Against Trevenant, you can give the Metal Fortress Bronzong more HP, or just a random Bronzong with Metal Lynx. And in this matchup, Simone wants his Metal Fortress Bronzong to stay as long as possible, so he puts the break onto, well, it gets this attack, which is not a bad attack, let me say this. You can put damage counters on a Pokemon that you almost knocked out. For example, you discard 3 energies, then you do 170 against a Pokemon which has 180 HP. But you don't really need to care. At the end of the game, you just attach 2 energies to your to your Bronzong break, then retreat, and just take the knockout this way without spending a Lysander. But the main reason is more the extra HP.
Absolutely. So we do see a Greninja break coming out for the first time. There's only, I believe, 80 damage on the Genesect currently. There's also that Fighting Fury Belt, making it a bit beefy right now. So Simone has an awkward decision of, where he can place any shurikens. Right now he is looking at that Professor Sycamore, but he is forced to just use the not the Shadow Stitching, the Moonlight Slash, putting the energy back into the hand for that extra damage for now. And we see another Bronzong come out.
Yeah, and like I said, when you discard all of the energies at the moment, then you deal exactly 170 damage.
Yes.
Greninja Break has 170 HP. So Simone knows, Simone Zucchelli knows, just attach more energies to my bench Genesect. With the Max Elixir, with the hand attachments, he plays the exact amount of energies he needed to make the best use of his Genesect EX at the moment. Then he discards all of them, and his Genesect without any energies attached to it gets knocked out. Then he can promote the Shaman with the 1 energy attached to it, retreat it later, or just promote anything. However, yeah, he attacks with Rapid Blaster, dealing 160 plus 10 for the Fighting Fury Belt, and goes down to 2 prize cards. And now you see N. N is one of these cards that are new with the Fates Collide, and N is kind of what makes this deck work, because almost every deck in the actual format play from the hand. You have Max Elixir, which you need, you have Shaman EX, which you need, you have all of these item cards. You always need to play cards from your hand. However, the Metal deck, it sets up a game state where you have everything. So Simone has 2 Metal Links. He can attach 2 Metal Energies from his discard pile. So he don't really need to draw anything after an N. He can just, sometimes he can win games without even playing cards from his hand for multiple turns. And this is what makes this Metal deck so great, because you're fast with the Max Elixirs when you still have 6 prize cards and the N is not punishing. And the moment you drew a lot of prize cards, you also set up a lot of Bronzongs. So once that happened, now he has 2 prize cards left. His opponent plays N, he only gets 2 hand cards. However, he can just attach the energies from his discard pile and doesn't even need to draw that good. And this is why this deck works so well too.
Yes, absolutely. So we are seeing a Sacred Ash recovering some of those Greninja pieces, and then instantly an Evo Solo to get into the Greninja break. He's trying to put up as much of a fight as possible, but he's sort of running out. He's basically left with just this one Greninja. So it does boil down to how well he can sort of deal with not only the active, but also this entire board state. Like you're saying, Simone Zucchelli is really not too worried about the about his hand cards right now, because he's made the setup so perfect for him already.
Now do we see the shadow? Here we see the shadow stitching. This means the active Genesect cannot use drive change. So there can't be a Floatstone attached to it. Simone already has an AZ in his discard pile, I'm pretty certain.
Yes.
And he just needs either AZ or a VS Seeker. Here we see him playing 1 Max Elixir, not hitting an energy card, but at this point in the late game, where you have 4 energies in field, at least 3 in your discard pile already, the chance is extremely low anyways, but you just play the Max Elixir to not draw into it later on. This is also high level play, just playing cards that you don't need in the situation anyways, so you don't draw into it later when you get reshuffled with your own N. And here we see actually
he has the
going
VS Seeker for
going
AZ.
for the AZ. This is a great move. He has so many energies to his Genesect, and this Genesect is charged, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't have any hand cards, but he don't care, because he just needs an energy at some point, or a Floatstone or another AZ, And now we see the desperation bubble, I think. Another
It's going to
N.
be a VS-Seeker for the end, yes indeed. And with only a lone Froakie on the board and 6 prizes to take to only one of Simone Zucchelli's, it feels like it's an absolute mountain to climb right now. But the N is the ultimate balancer. Unfortunately, it looks like there's so much already that Simone Zucchelli has in the field, and it's going to be insane if you're going to be able to take 6 prizes before Simone takes just the 1. So it feels like a bit of a lost cause right now, but still, you got to go for it. And it looks like the tail split means that he's going to concede game 1.
Yeah, exactly. He just needs to knock out the Froakie. He has 2 Metal Links on his bench already. He can also just use the
Metal Rain to deal with it at any point. Yeah, he had plenty of options. Yeah.
So we see Simone scooping the game. Oh man, both of them are called Simone. This is quite annoying. Simone Soldo scooping the game. You can see the power of this deck. Simone Zucchelli created this monster of a deck. It's cool in every situation as long as you don't have a bad starting hand, which I think is the only way you can really lose a game. And your start is not that great if you don't get a lot of Bronzors into play. If you don't hit your max elixirs, then your opponent can just steamroll. I also think there will be quite a few issues with Night March. He plays a Soul Vest, he plays a Fighting Fuel Belt. However, it could still be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. So just that raw pace. Sometimes if maybe you just miss a max elixir or 2, it's one of these things that you think you've got the deck, you've got the speed there, but if you just don't hit those max elixirs, then you are slightly slower. You can be punished by those speedier decks, but so far he's not been punished by those decks. He's got the answers. He's got Aegis/EX. He has, like you say, the Fighting Fury Belt, the Assault Vest, and even Bronzong Break is a great equalizer in that matchup where you can take multiple prizes late on in the game and really force your opponent into awkward spots. Again, combining it with the N card that we've seen so much this weekend, you really don't fear any deck with this.
Yeah, exactly. It's very great. Playing Hexmaniac after Hexmaniac after Hexmaniac in the late game could be quite annoying. But then again, he has the max elixir, and you can do turns like N for 1 and then play Hexmaniac 2. This is not possible because you can only play 1 supporter card in your turn. So it's a cool deck. You have answer to almost every situation. And if you are a good player that knows these answers, that knows, okay, my opponent did this and that, I look through my opponent's discard play, I know what he might be going for, then I decide by myself, I do this, and then I win the game.
Absolutely. You've seen Simone make good decisions. The Rapid Blaster is a flexible attack. You can do exactly as much damage as you need. So he will read the situation, think, I can just deal with a big attacker and force my opponent to dig for cards, find a new attacker so that they can't Hexmaniac me next turn because they need so much to get going, or at least make it unlikely. Or sometimes you say, you know what, my opponent's got a good board state, I need to keep in this game just by chugging along with maybe 100 a turn and keep up in the race for a little bit, force my opponent to have more resources. So he's played really well, and he's clearly thought his deck inside and out, and really you can see him assess the options as we go. We've seen very cool plays from him, not only in the last game, but throughout the tournament already.
Yeah, exactly. I think we featured him twice already, at least twice already. Simone Soldo is going to start the game here, playing an early volley. Now he checks his prize card, how many Frogadiers are in the prizes. Depending on how many are, you do different decisions. Sometimes you can actually see Greninja players evolving just all of their Froakies into Frogadiers when they have 1 or 2 prized and happen to draw into them early anyways. However, he goes straight for the wall, he takes an energy card, and now even if Simone Zucchelli plays an N, and Simone Soldo doesn't really get a great hand, he can still use water duplicates. There is an extremely slim chance that Simone Zucchelli wins this game now. If he gets 3 energy cards to his age, he says he deals 100 damage, then plays either AZ or Floatstone to the active Bronzor, then he could win the game. It's very unlikely, however, it's not impossible.
Looks like he's definitely going all in on it. He just needs 1 more max elixir to hit and that Floatstone, like you say. He is playing 3 and he's only used just 1 max elixir, and there is 1. Potentially the game is over here.
Oh my god! And Simone Zucchelli wins the game here.
Oh my goodness.
This is such a great move. It's